Somebody else was on the cross. The Quran said, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا سَلَبُوهُ. They did not kill him, they did not crucify him. وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُمْ مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا بَلْ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. They did not kill him and they did not crucify him. But it was made to appear to them so. What was made to appear to them? The fact that he died on the cross. Yes, someone was hung on the cross that day on Calvary cross. Someone was hung on the cross in Golgotha. Someone was indeed hung on the cross, but that was not Jesus. So Allah said, وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُمْ. Those who are involved about the case of death of Jesus, مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ. They don't have the exact knowledge of what happened to them. Why? Because إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ. They follow conjecture, guesswork, fiction. They think that's what happened.
All right, so this is another argument from Sheikh Awal. I mean, and this one is a very interesting one. So Sheikh Awal is actually arguing right here, making the seventh argument right now, that someone was hung on the cross, but it was not Jesus. Now, apart from making this argument, Sheikh Awal went further to say some other things, okay, about the crucifixion. But let's talk about this very first, accusation or this very first statement. And the question I want to ask is this: who was actually hung on the cross if that was not Jesus? Okay. Who was hung on the cross if not Jesus? That's the question I want to ask Sheikh Awal. And this is by extension to every Muslim who actually hold to this particular theory. Because not every Muslim that actually believe in this, okay? And you're going to be seeing this very soon. I'll make this known to you very soon. It's not every Muslim that actually believe that. But the question is that who was actually hung on the cross? So if Jesus was not hung on the cross, Sheikh Awal, who was actually there? And if he's not there, how could somebody be hung on the cross in the place of Jesus Christ? So this is something that I want Sheikh Awal to actually look into. But let's go further. All right. So let's take a look at this. Number one, if it was not Jesus, who was it? Okay, that's number one. And then number two, why would Allah replace Jesus with somebody else if Allah does not recognize the concept of ransom and atonement? Now, the Muslims are quick to tell you that it is actually, contradictory, okay, to the human mind for Jesus Christ, who actually, was a sinless person, an innocent person, to come and die for us, sinners. All right. Okay. They will say that. So they will say that, see, no bearer of sin can bear the sin of another person. There's a verse in the Quran that actually says that. Okay. So it means that if you actually sin, you should die for your sin. So Jesus cannot come and die on behalf of our own sin. Okay. As sinners. The Muslims will actually say that. So let's follow the argument for now. Okay. So let's do that logical argument at this point in time. So if that is true, then the question we're going to be asking our Muslim friends is this: why was Jesus replaced on the cross? Who was actually on the cross, if not Jesus Christ? Okay, who was actually put on the cross? Then number two, why would Allah replace Jesus Christ on the cross? Because the Muslims, some of the Muslims, not every one of them, so I have to be very careful right here. Not all Muslims actually believe that Jesus was actually replaced with Allah, replaced with somebody else on the cross. So not all Muslims actually believe that, but some Muslims believe that. So I want to ask those Muslims who actually believe that. If you believe that, why would Allah replace Jesus with somebody else on the cross if Allah does not, recognize the atonement and also the concept of ransom, okay, that we actually believe in the Christian faith? So that's something that I wanted to put in mind as a Muslim. So we need to ask ourselves the question: who are those who differed concerning it? Remember, when Sheikh Awal was talking, he said that, see, it's because, Jesus was not on the cross, and that is the reason why those who are talking about this, they differed about it. They don't have, a cogent information. They are confused about this, okay? And that's why they are contradictory report about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Now, in my own opinion, instead of saying that the Christians are the one who differed about this, I would rather say that the Muslims are the one who differed about this. Now, what do I mean by that? The Muslims are the ones who are divided over the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Now, somebody will say, hey, Korede, what are you talking about? The truth of the matter is that if you don't know today as a Christian, and if you're a Muslim, you're watching this, the Muslims or the Islamic world are not unanimous, especially the scholars, are not unanimous as to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, or as the Muslims will say, the alleged crucifixion of Jesus Christ in the Quran. There are different opinions from different scholars, okay, concerning the particular incident. I'm going to be talking about them. In fact, I'm going to also be showing us a couple of clips, about this, so that we can get to understand that this is not something that, is actually new. It's something that is actually currently happening. It's always been, and it's currently happening. But let's take a look at these verses so that we can actually, make a sense out of actually what we're talking about. So let's talk about this different group of Muslims who actually believed, before we take a look at the verses, the different group of Muslims that we have, especially as are concerning, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Like I said, it is not all Muslims, okay, that actually believe that Jesus, okay, was not crucified. Some actually believe that he was crucified. All right. So let's take a look at this. Group one actually believed that Jesus was crucified but did not die on the cross. He was actually resuscitated and traveled to India, Kashmir, to actually be precise, and he lived there for the rest of his life. Now, the group of Muslims who actually believe in this are called the Ahmadiyya, Muslim Jamaat. Okay, so the Ahmadiyya actually believe that Jesus was crucified. Now, so if you are hearing this for the very first time, please do not be shocked. If you're a Muslim, you're hearing this for the very first time, do not be shocked. The Ahmadiyyas actually believe that Jesus was crucified, but they don't believe that he died through that medium. They believe that he fainted, he was brought down from the cross, and then he traveled to, India, to a particular place called Kashmir. That's actually where he lived. He married there, he had children, and then he died. Okay, so that is the first group of Muslims that had an opinion about, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Now, the second group of Muslims are the ones that believe that Jesus was not crucified, but somebody in his stead was, and that the person was made to look like Jesus. And they said probably that person was Judas. So there are a group of Muslims who actually believe this. They believe that, see, Jesus was not the one crucified, okay? He was not the one crucified, but actually somebody was on that cross, okay? Somebody was there. Now, some are even saying that the person that was there was Judas. Some are saying that it's one of his disciples that actually decided to volunteer to die instead of Jesus Christ. Now, I'm saying all of these things. These are some of the theories that the Muslims are bringing up, okay? So these are some of the theories that the Muslims believe, okay? And it's not something that I'm making up. It's actually existence. If you're a Muslim and you're hearing this for the very first time, please go and do a research on this, all right? I'm not making this up. It means that you're not just, privy to this information. So let's go to the third set of Muslims actually that have an opinion on the crucifixion. So the third Muslims, or the third group of Muslims that actually have the opinion on the crucifixion actually believe that the crucifixion of Jesus Christ did not take place. Okay, the crucifixion did not happen. Nobody was crucified. Allah only made it to look like that. Okay, so for this group of Muslims, they believe that Jesus was not crucified. Judas was not crucified in form of Jesus Christ or instead of Jesus Christ. In fact, crucifixion did not take place. Allah just made it look like it happened. So it's just like a film trick, when you think that something happened and it did not happen, all right? So that is actually the way Allah made it to look like. So we have those group of Muslims. So to recap, we have the Muslims who actually believe that Jesus was crucified. Okay, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat actually believe this. He was crucified, but he did not die by that means. He fainted. He was taken down from the cross. He went to India. He went to live there, married, and then he died there. But the second group of Muslims actually believe that Jesus was not crucified, but somebody was crucified in his stead. Okay, instead of him, somebody was crucified. And some of them believe that it was actually Judas that was crucified. Okay, some of them, not every one of them. Now, the last group of Muslims believe that Jesus was not crucified. No crucifixion took place. Nobody was on the cross. Allah only made it to look like somebody was on the cross. All right. So those are the three opinions that we have. There could be more than that, but these are the popular opinions that we have that I want you to be aware of. So you get to know that the Muslims are not unanimous, okay? That the Muslims are divided, okay, when it comes to, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. Now, let's take a look at the verse that we're talking about. The verse in question, Quran chapter 4, verse 157. This is the verse that the Muslims actually are talking about, okay? When we're talking about this verse, when we're talking about crucifixion, this is the verse that the Muslims will actually allude to. So let's read this verse. I'm reading from Dr. Mustafa Katab's translation of the Quran. It is called the Clear Quran. You can find this Quran online on Quran.com, okay? And if you have the hard copy, you can also check out what I'm actually reading right from there. So we read, as for the boasting, we killed the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, all right? The messenger of Allah, but they neither killed nor crucified him. It was only made to appear so. Even those who argue for this crucifixion are in doubt. They have no knowledge whatsoever, only making assumption. They certainly did not kill him. Okay, so that is actually the way Dr. Mustafa Katab of the Clear Quran actually rendered this verse of the Quran. But there's something I actually want you to note. Okay, so after translating the Quran, he actually had a note on this translation of the Quran. Okay, he had a footnote. This is actually what he said in the footnote. It says, The popular Muslim belief, or the popular belief among Muslims, is that a conspiracy was made to kill Jesus. But Allah made the main culprit who betrayed Jesus look exactly like Jesus. Then he was crucified in Jesus' place. Jesus was raised safe and sound to heaven. Muslims also believe in the second coming of Jesus. So what Dr. Mustafa Khattab is saying, that it's a popular Muslim belief, okay, that Jesus Christ was about to be crucified. There was a conspiracy against him. But somebody who actually betrayed Jesus, of course, we know that it was Judas that betrayed Jesus from the biblical point of view. That the person that betrayed Jesus was the one that was crucified instead of Jesus Christ, but rather Jesus was taken up by Allah into a safe place, and Jesus was not therefore crucified. So that's actually what Dr. Mustafa Khattab is saying. And this is the view of so many Muslims. So I just want to bring out that view. And I want you to know that this view is actually represented even in the translation of the Quran. It's not something strange. It's something that the Muslims actually believe. So let's read further. Another translation right now. This is from the Sahih International. This is another translation of the Quran. And that's why when the Muslims tell you that, well, we only have one translation of the Quran, well, that's not true. All right. There are a lot of translation of the Quran, English translation of the Quran. Okay. So let's quickly read this one. And it says, as for their saying, indeed, we have killed the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, the messenger of Allah. And they did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but another was made to resemble him to them. And indeed, those who differ over it are in doubt about it. They have no knowledge of it except following assumption, and they did not kill him for certain. Again, this is actually a translation from the Sahih International, all right? But they also have an interesting footnote, and I want us to read the footnote that they have right there. And this is what the footnote says. Another meaning is that, and they did not kill him, and being certain of his identity, they killed another, assuming it was Jesus Christ. So we see from this translation of the Quran, Sahih International also said that Jesus was not the one crucified. Somebody is said was crucified, in the place of Jesus Christ. So let's read another translation, to actually buckle this up, and then let's see if we could wrap up from here. I thought we were going to be able to finish all the response to Sheikh Awal, but it seems we might not be able to finish it tonight because we're already getting to almost, okay, let's go on anyways. So we're reading from another translation, and this is from the Ahmadiyya translation of the Quran. And this is what we read. It says, as for their sin, we have killed the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, the messenger of Allah, and they killed him not, nor did they cause his death on the cross. But it was meant to appear to them as such. And certainly those who differ therein are in doubt about it. They have no knowledge about it, but only follow a conjecture. They kill him not for certain. And as my custom is, let me read the commentary, okay, or the footnote that we have in the Ahmadiyya translation of the Quran, so you can get to see what they actually said right there also. And this is the translation. The footnote. It says the word masalabuhu. Sorry, that's the Arabic right there. Masalabuhu does not negate. Actually, there's a typo right there from the commentary. They put the word negative, but I think what they meant to say is that negate. So the word masalabuhu does not negate. All right, being nailed. That's Jesus being nailed to the cross. All right. It says the negative. All right. Okay. It says the negative. Okay. I think what they are trying to say right there is that it's in the negative is having expired on the cross. So I'm going to be reading that again. It says the word masalabu does not negate Jesus being nailed to the cross. Okay, it says the negative or the negate, okay, is having expired on the cross. So what this word actually negates is that he actually died on the cross as a result of the crucifixion. That's actually what they're trying to say. Okay, having expired on the cross as a result of being nailed to it. Salib actually is well-known way of killing, and the word salib right there is actually the word for cross. Okay, and that's what is being translated as the crucifixion. So what the Ahmadiyya are saying in essence is that yes, the father will say why should I miss this Arabic word again? Malasa. I'm missing the Arabic word again. That is masalabuhu. All right, yeah, masalabuhu, and that is the fact that he was not crucified. Okay, that's the Arabic word. So what the Ahmadiyya is actually saying is that this particular word does not negate the fact that Jesus was crucified on the cross. Okay, that again, Jesus was crucified on the cross. There's no doubt about that. But he actually negates the fact that Jesus died as a result of the fact that he was on the cross. Okay, so that's what the idea they are pushing. So that is the reason why, if you ask any Ahmadiyya Muslim, they believe that Jesus was on the cross. They believe that Jesus was actually crucified, but they do not believe that Jesus died as a means of the crucifixion. Apart from that, Dr. Shabi Ali also actually believed that Jesus was also crucified, meaning that Jesus was on the cross, but he does not believe that Jesus died as a result of that. All right, I think we're due for a break right now. But before we go for a break, I just want us to watch a couple of clips. We're going to be wrapping it up right there. I want us to watch a couple of clips, okay? We're going to be watching three scholars right here. We're going to be watching, Yasakadi, what they said about, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. We're going to be watching Adnan Rashid, okay? And also we're going to be watching Dr. Shabi Ali. So three of them, we're going to be watching them. Very short clip. We're going to be watching it. And then I think we're going to be wrapping up right from there. Yeah, I think we still have some minutes to go. So let's quickly watch these three scholars. Okay, so let's start from our dear scholar, Yasakadi. Yasakadi is actually an Islamic scholar, okay, and is known to a lot of Muslims, okay. And I mean, this is somebody who is well versed, okay, in Islamic studies, okay. So we're not talking about somebody that is just, doing dawah and he does not even know his religion. No, we're talking about somebody who is actually versed in the Islamic religion. So let's see what it says about an aspect of the crucifixion of, Jesus Christ according to the Quran. So let's see what Yasakadi has to say. Okay, Yasakadi, let's have you right now.
I have trained in a seminary and my PhD is from Yale, so I have the religious side and I have the secular side. And it's interesting to compare and contrast to which I'm sure we've had discussions about this as well. From a secular perspective, people who don't believe in any religion, they're perturbed and intrigued by the Islamic stance on the crucifixion because it seems very bizarre and atypical. Like, why would an Arabian man 500 years after Jesus hold these views about crucifixion? And they don't really have a solid answer for that. The Quran...
We didn't explain this.
That's what I'm going to say right now.
Surah 4:157.
Exactly
okay, all right, okay, all right.
Yeah. Okay. The Quran says that do not say he was crucified. They neither killed him, they meaning the children of Israel, they neither killed him nor crucified him, but rather, and this is really ambiguous even in the Arabic, it was made to appear to them so. I just translated the Arabic.
What does that mean?
It was made to appear to them so. Now, that's what the Quran says. Muslim exegetes, and this is not from the Quran, this is their interpretation. So I don't consider their interpretation to be divine, but yes, we are sympathetic to it. I am sympathetic to it. Muslim exegetes have interpreted that Jesus was not crucified nor even placed on the cross, but rather that God saved him. Now, this is an interpretation that is mainstream. And they claim, this is not from the Quran, as I said, this is from later Muslim historians and theologians. They claim that Judas, the traitor, was punished by God to resemble Jesus, so that when the Roman soldiers entered the garden, they saw Judas the traitor and they assumed him to be Jesus, and they killed and crucified him, and that's a befitting end to a traitor. And so people assumed that Jesus had been crucified. And that's what the Quran says, it was made to appear to them so.
All right, so that's actually from Yasakadi. So you can listen to what Yasakadi is actually saying right from there. It's saying that, yes, that the Muslims, some Muslims actually do not believe, okay, he's talking about his own point now, which actually seems to be the orthodox view, okay, the mainstream view, that Jesus was not put on the cross, but then somebody was actually placed on the cross. And, they say, well, this person could actually be Judas, okay? So I just wanted you to see that this is not something that, we're making up as Christians. This is actually what some Muslims actually believe. And I wanted to hear from the Islamic scholar themselves. And that's the reason why I'm bringing them on board, so that you can actually see that this is what they are saying. So some Muslims actually believe that, yeah, Jesus was not the one crucified. Instead, it was Judas. Okay, Judas was the one that betrayed Jesus Christ. He was the one that was crucified instead of Jesus Christ. So I've been listening to Yasakadi. Let's listen to Shabi Ali also. Shabi Ali also have an interesting thought, about the alleged, that's what the Muslims say. They say the alleged crucifixion of Jesus Christ. So let's see what, Shabi Ali has to say concerning this. Yes, Shabi Ali, let's have you on board. Thank you.
So the first part I would ask is, does the Quran show that Jesus was actually crucified? Now, crucified can have two meanings, basically. If we, let's say we put a person on the cross, and for some reason we changed our minds, we don't want to kill him, we take him back down, you might say the person was crucified, meaning that that person was hung on the cross. But in another sense, you might say, no, he wasn't crucified because the whole point of the crucifixion was to kill him by that method. It was a form of execution, and we didn't complete it, so he wasn't crucified. So crucified could mean, on the one hand, merely hanging a person on a cross, but on the other hand, it can mean executing the person by means of hanging him on the cross. So when the Quran says in Surah 4, verse 157, "Ma qataluhu wa ma salabuhu," they killed him not, nor did they crucify him, it seems to be asserting two things. On the one hand, they didn't kill him, and on the other hand, they didn't crucify him. The Muslim commentators generally took this to mean that the Quran is denying both aspects. On the one hand, the Quran is denying that he was killed, and on the other hand, the Quran is also denying that he was even put on the cross. But then, if he wasn't put on the cross, how do we have all these gospel stories that say that he was put on the cross? And in details that he was there and people were jeering at him and so on. And eventually he was taken down dead, according to the Gospels, and then put in a tomb. And then a couple of days later, he was seen by his disciples, who were convinced that he came back to life after having been dead. How do we have all these stories? So the Muslim commentators, having to deal with all of these, said, well, somebody else was made to look like Jesus, and that person was put on the cross. And so that's how all these stories could, people can see him on the cross because it was actually somebody else looking like him. But to many Muslims today, it seems unnecessary to read all of this into the Quranic text. It seems that Surah 4, verse 157, most likely means that while they thought they were completing the job and actually finishing the task of killing him by this means of crucifixion, they didn't actually kill him by that means. So there is a bit of repetition and overlap, of course, in the double statement, "Ma qataluhu wa ma salabuhu," they kill him not, nor did they crucify him. But it's really meant to emphasize the same thing, that it didn't really finish this job of executing Jesus. It appeared to them that Jesus died on the cross, but he wasn't actually dead. Maybe he was in a coma or in a deep state of suspended animation. And eventually he was revived by God, healed, and taken up into heaven, where he awaits his second coming.
Yeah, I wanted to take note of what Shabi Ali is saying right there. Shabi Ali is saying that we have the traditional view, okay, which is actually what Yasakadi has mentioned. Remember what Dr. Yasakadi said, okay? He's talking about Jesus Christ not being crucified, that somebody was in place of Jesus Christ and all that. Dr. Shabi Ali actually mentioned that also, but he's saying that, well, that does not really seem to be the case. That what seems to be the case was that, yes, Jesus Christ was actually on the cross, but then when he was on the cross, people actually thought that he had died, but he did not die. What happened was that probably he was just taken down from the cross, okay? He was taken elsewhere, and then, he did not die by the process of the cross. That's actually what Shabi Ali is actually saying right there. And Shabi Ali does not even believe, okay? He does not believe that Jesus was not crucified, okay? He believed that he was on the cross, but he did not believe that Jesus died as a means of that. So what Shabi Ali is actually saying right there is that we have the traditional belief, okay, that Jesus actually was replaced by somebody else, but he says no, and Muslims are not actually holding to that. But the most probable one is that, Allah made it seems to, appear to, people that Jesus was actually, dying on the cross, okay? But what happened was that Jesus did not die on the cross, okay? He was actually taken down from the cross, and then he was, taken up from heaven right from there. And then that's how Jesus actually, escaped that particular process. So before we end the program tonight, because it's already 6 minutes after 1 hour, and we usually do this for 1 hour. I'm so thankful for all of you who have actually stayed up until now. Let's listen to the next person, who's actually Adnan Rashid. So we're going to be wrapping up immediately. Adnan Rashid spoke on this. We also want to hear from Adnan Rashid on his view, okay, some of the snippet of his view on the crucifixion, so you can get to know that, again, these are not something that we Christians are making up. These are things that is actually right there, in the Islamic world, and that is actually what they are believing. So let's listen to Adnan Rashid at this point in time, and when we come back, we're going to be wrapping it up. All right, let's go to Adnan Rashid. Thank you.
Now, 4 Gospels are unanimous on the matter of the crucifixion. The 4 Gospels, the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all 4 of them are unanimous that Jesus was crucified. They vary in detail, and this is where the Quran is absolutely right. Shabir Ali is not a source of information to us. Shabir Ali has other ideas we don't agree with. Shabir Ali actually is one of those speakers in the Muslim world who is, who has actually freed himself from the tradition. So he has made statements publicly that are against traditional sciences of Islam, and we don't accept Shabir Ali as an authority on Islam. Although he's a brother, he's a great speaker, he's a great debater, no doubt, but he's not an authority for us to take Islam from him. The Quran confirms. In fact, the Quran doesn't confirm. The Quran doesn't necessarily say that there was no crucifixion, or if there was a crucifixion. Quran doesn't deny the possibility of a crucifixion. Maybe a crucifixion took place. There's no problem with that. The Quran is not. The Quran is saying it wasn't Jesus. If there was a crucifixion, it couldn't be Jesus, because Jesus was not crucified. He was not killed. The reason why we reject, as Muslims, we reject the crucifixion of Jesus Christ is because of the Quran. Primarily, we believe the Quran was revealed by God. It is definitely the word of God to us. Therefore, the crucifixion cannot be true. It was directly contradicted in the Quran.
All right, so you can hear right there from Adnan Rashid right there, and you can see that he also has his own view. He's following the traditional view that, Jesus was not crucified, but then he maintained, he said something very interesting. He said the four Gospels are unanimous, meaning that the four Gospels actually agree, actually say that Jesus was crucified. Is that not interesting? Coming from an Islamic, Dawah preacher, that the four Gospels agree that Jesus was crucified. They actually said Jesus was crucified. But he now said that the details, he said that the details is actually what differs, okay? The details differ, but the four Gospels actually say Jesus was crucified, okay? Then he went on to say that, they don't actually take their view from Shabir Ali, okay, even though he's their brother, he's their friend, he's a great speaker, but they don't take their view from it. Why? Because he has said some things that have gone off the traditional view. And one of the things that they feel that he has said that has gone on the traditional view is what we're talking about right now, okay? Shabir Ali actually believed that Jesus was crucified, even though he did not die as a means of that. He did not die on the cross, but he was actually on the cross, okay? So that was what Adnan Rashid was speaking to right there, that he does not, agree with Shabir Ali on that. So I'm just bringing this forth to you as a Muslim so you get to know that this view actually exists right there. So when we're talking about who differs, okay, who are those people that disagree? It's not the Christians, okay? The Christians are not the one disagreeing. The Muslims are the one disagreeing as to the crucifixion of Jesus right in the Quran. And lastly, Abdul Rashid is saying that the single most important reason why they are, as Muslims, rejecting the crucifixion of Jesus Christ is because of the Quran. So it's because the Quran, in Quran chapter 4, verse 157, saying, oh God, I miss the Arabic right now. Wama Kataluhu, yeah, Wama Salabu, Walaki should be Allahum, yeah. Okay, so because actually the Quran say in Quran chapter 4, verse 157 right now, that Jesus was not killed, was not crucified. Therefore, that's the reason why the Muslims are not believing in the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. So you can see that the reason why the Muslims are not believing in crucifixion is not because it's historically attested, okay? It's because the Quran, okay, is saying that Jesus was not crucified. That is the reason why the Muslims are actually believing in that. All right. So we're going to be wrapping it up right here. So I just wanted to know, as a Muslim, that you have your, scholars having various view on the crucifixion right there. It is not we that is actually saying that Jesus was not crucified. Your scholars are actually the one debating this. They're actually not having, a unanimous view on this particular subject. This is actually where we're going to be ending, the program right about.